Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting. First, standard announcements. The fire evacuation procedures for this evening's meeting. There are no fire alarms scheduled. So if we do hear the alarm, we need to exit the building, evacuating out of the fire exit at the back of the room, straight out of the exit through reception. Please meet in the War Memorial Park. Do not go away. Stay together in the War Memorial Park to make sure that we count everybody. The meeting is being webcast. It's being webcast live on the internet, and it's also available via YouTube to view after the meeting. All the microphones are in front of us. Please can I remind you not to move them about. Therein you will appear on the screen in the right place. And in terms of mobile phones, can we all turn them to silent or turn them off completely? Brilliant. Thank you for that. So I'm going to start with apologies for absence. There are none. We are all here this evening, and thank you. Any declarations of interest this evening on any item on the agenda? No. There are no urgent items. The minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of September 2024, could I ask that I can sign these if you're happy they're a true record of the meeting? Are we all good with that?
Agreed.
Agreed? Thank you, I will do so. Item 5, Leader and Portfolio Holder Announcements. John, would you like to make an announcement, please, on Black History Month?
Yes, I just wanted to share with everyone that we celebrated the start of Black History Month on the 1st of October. The Mayor raised a flag outside the council buildings during the afternoon, and then we convened an event in the Dean's building here in the evening, which I had the privilege of hosting. The subject for this year's Black History Month is reclaiming narratives, and we had a large audience from the black community in Basingstoke and others. And I chose to open the meeting by making a couple of points. Firstly, that narratives can be reclaimed. But secondly, there's a lot of work to do in the area of race relations. And I used the example of the National Trust to sort of elaborate that point, where they'd chosen in some of their properties to shine a light on where some of the wealth came from that created these large estates and sort of fine country houses. And in short, in part, that funding or that money, that wealth came from the exploitation of enslaved people. And unfortunately, there was a backlash from some people associated with the National Trust against this, who presumably preferred a more sanitized version of history. So it's a short example that really shows that even though things may have happened a long time ago and not as well as recently, a narrative can be reclaimed. But it's important to say there was work still to be done. We then had 6 absolutely inspiring speakers, and I've got to thank the officers for helping reach out to the people who contributed to the evening. But we had a diverse subject matter from half a dozen speakers from the community, and if there were 2 things that were in common across those 6 speakers, it was the inspiring nature of their stories and the really positive way they felt about Basingstoke as a borough and as a place to live. And that's why I chose to use the word celebration to describe the event. It was opened with a couple of young ladies from Oakley who sang a couple of songs to us to open proceedings, and the India Igbo community closed the evening with some African drumming. And I look forward to being involved in some other events during October for Black History Month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. It was a really good event, and I think it was a good showcase of the positivity within the borough, and that really came across in terms of the conversations, so that was lovely to. And there are more events across the whole of the month to celebrate the whole month of Black History Month, and it's important. I also noticed it's the second time that we've done it in the borough building, in the civic offices, and that's really important as well, that we're opening up the civic offices in that way to have community events here to celebrate and to join with the community, open up this building to communities in that way, and it's important. Thank you, John. Okay, moving on, we have the paper on agenda item 6 in front of us this evening, which is the proposal to renew existing public space protection order to tackle antisocial behaviour in the town centre and some of the surrounding parks and open spaces. John, again, over to you to introduce the paper.
Well, yes, we've had a public space protection order in place for 3 years, covering, as you said, parts of the town centre and the park. And that order would need to be rejuvenated if it's to continue, otherwise it would lapse. In the lead up to that, the officers conducted a public consultation to find out what people thought about the order that had been in place for the last 3 years. And the overwhelming response was that it was a good thing to continue the public space protection order, which targets antisocial behaviour in relation to the consumption of alcohol. So we had a very positive response both to the sense that the existing order had contributed to an improved environment in the top of the town and other areas, and expressing support for renewing the order for a further 3 years, which is the proposal in front of the Cabinet this morning. I just would close my short introduction by just clarifying what it's not. It is not a ban on drinking in those areas. It gives our community safety team more powers to deal with those who are under the influence of alcohol and conducting antisocial behaviour. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Gavin.
Yes, I want to speak in support of this. I think it's one of those things that I was very sceptical of, about the prospect of it might ban drinking in the town centre, but as John has just alluded to, very importantly, it doesn't do that. It actually supports the cafe culture ambitions of this administration in terms of making sure that antisocial behaviour is dealt with, but those enjoying a peaceful drink and a night out in the top of town can do so and enjoy it without being disrupted or disturbed by antisocial behaviour. It's worked really well, and it's been part of and arguably started the journey of recovery in the top of town. Obviously now complemented by the amazing work that Onley and Laura are doing in terms of cleaning up, repainting, redecorating. We've seen new businesses open. We've seen more and more businesses, active shop fronts appearing in the top of town, and a lot of it started here and has been developed over time. So it's a really successful policy, this, and one we need to keep going, because it's aiding the recovery that we're supporting in the top of town. And I think anyone who sits at home and has these ancient memories of drunks at the top of town really needs to get off their keyboards, get off the Gazette website, sorry Gazette, and get into town and spend some money, because it's growing and growing and thriving, and we actually want to support it. So welcome this. Actually, the Cabinet should endorse it as supporting our way forward in making sure the top of town is a thriving business area, particularly for those local businesses that start off in that environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, John. Couldn't agree more in terms of what's going on and in terms of the suite of policies and the suite of actions that fit it. It's also just worth noticing the live music event happened recently, and that was part of our drive to get more footfall in the town centre, and something Kerry's been working hard on with officers, and that was a huge success in the top of town. So again, constantly reinforcing what we're doing to bring life back to the top of town in everywhere we can, and working with the business community and our residents who want to see it as lively as we do. So great. The recommendation in front of us this evening then is on page 14, and it's to approve the decision of the Head of Law and Governance and Monitoring Officer in consultation with the Head of Environment CS Community Services to renew the existing PSPO for a maximum term of 3 years. So the recommendation is set out on page 14, and do we all agree? Are you happy to move the recommendation and agree with it? Agreed? We agree. Thank you very much. That is the only item on the agenda this evening. There is no other items, and I will close the meeting. Thank you for your attendance.